This is Ball on Blast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network, available on iTunes, SoundCloud and YouTube. If you like it, then subscribe and tell your friends. Holla.
Thank you. You're far too kind for tuning in once again to something we like to call the Ball on Blast Podcast. My name is Sheldon and Alexander, and normally I'm joined by my guy Andrew Webster. But Webby's off right now. Webby's getting married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Webby.
Shouts to Webby.
Man.
Webby's getting married. So I, reached back into the bag and got my dudes. A couple of my day ones. I got Foots,
Yo.
aka Mr. Olamati.
Yes, sir.
I got Mr. Quintanel.
That's me.
These are the DDS Caps boys, among other things, of course. But, from where we come from, we got to do multiple things. There's always got to be multiple hustles, right?
Yes, sir.
Fellas, it's the summertime. We probably thought there weren't going to be that much to talk about in terms of NBA basketball or for a basketball podcast. But we've been wrong for weeks upon weeks upon weeks because here we are still talking about the NBA and it's almost Carabana.
This is the best time of year.
The NBA is just absolutely amazing. And of course, this week means more to us because we're still in the reaction phase of this whole Kawhi Leonard, DeMar DeRozan trade. And to give the listeners kind of a peek behind the window, peek behind the glass, is that what I'm looking for? Is that the term I'm looking for?
Okay.
We have a group chat. We have a group text, right? With about like
Me against the world. Me against the world.
Honestly,
Okay.
at this,
I
it
take it.
is
I
Q
take
against the world on our chat.
right?
in
There's
regards to
about
this
what?
subject.
There's like 8 of us in there,
Yeah.
and it gets heated. It's super heated. And these guys, I mean, at some points it's funny because I'll be at work and then I'll pick up my phone and there's like 70 messages. We have this group chat, and obviously I feel like it's a microcosm for how everybody in Raptors land has been reacting over the past week. I feel like there's been hot takes all over the place. Everyone's doing their own version of First Take with Stephen A. and Max just having opinions because it was so polarizing. And I think when the trade was announced, I was most surprised by how much love people had for DeMar DeRozan. Now, I knew that DeMar DeRozan, and last week's podcast, Webby went at me because he was saying that I wasn't giving DeMar enough love. And I think I almost went over the top because I was countering basically because I was so shocked that everyone loved off DeMar DeRozan. And I didn't know he had that kind of love in Toronto, but he did. Like, do you guys agree? Do you think that most of the fan base didn't like the trade off top?
Yes, I think so. I think off top, it was definitely, we're a conservative city, right?
Okay.
It was definitely a big move.
Yeah.
And it was a big risk.
Yeah.
And I don't think sports fans in this city. Now, I know you say Raptors fans, but I think it's because we're in Toronto. So
Yeah.
like I like the
There's a differentiation.
There's a
made.
differentiation
Yeah,
because
definitely.
I'm sure LA fans and Golden State fans and Knicks fans are the same. Where like me, if I'm gonna argue sports
Yeah.
or anything,
Yeah.
I gotta argue with people that know. So that casual fan,
I'm not arguing with
that
you.
casual
Right.
fan, like I don't. Their opinions,
pass me
th-
that
those their opinions,
shirt,
they don't matter as much to me.
Thank you.
So what I think was when you say Raptors fans, I think
Yeah.
you're talking about that casual
And you
Raptors
know what?
fan, casual Toronto sports fan who watches but doesn't
Yeah,
know the
yeah,
sport.
yeah. Do you know what? I'm gonna be honest too, and Foots backed me up on this. I think there is a different reaction amongst the fan base in terms of what Q just said. But I feel like Raps fans, if you're a Raptors fan, you were super cheese about this trade. If you were a basketball fan, I feel like a lot of those people were also mad. But I feel like if you were more of an NBA fan, you were more likely to at least understand the trade from more angles.
No, for sure, 100%. Like if you were just an NBA person, then it's like it's just black and white. But if
Yeah.
you're a Raptor fan, there's a lot of complications that's mixed to it. There's a lot of
don't-
past history. There's a lot of love.
And I'm saying
honestly,
majority. I'm saying majority.
majority.
Q. I'm not saying everybody. I'm
And
saying
you know what?
majority.
And you know what? In a city that's known to hate and be haters,
Yeah. Yeah.
I am really, 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 really shocked, like you, that like the city took up DeRozan, like took up for DeRozan.
That was cool to see, and I'll be honest,
Really
right?
cool
Like
to see.
I see my guy Timmy Heggs right now, He was on, and my guy LT, I see them on the Instagram feed right now, and it's funny because I've been known to be the DeMar DeRozan hater in many of my chat groups, okay? And so I was coming from a different viewpoint, right? Because I felt like the biggest point I thought was that this was Masai Ujiri telling the world that this era of Raptors basketball is over, right? And we heard him say that he gave them a chance. We saw that at the press conference and all that. But I'm more interested in the reaction of the Raptors fans because I felt like when the trade was announced, I think most people can understand that Kawhi Leonard is a better basketball player than DeMar DeRozan, right? Like, I think that's not really the argument. No. I think people were more upset with the fact that this was a guy who DeMar DeRozan wanted to stay here.
He chose us.
And now we're trading him for someone who doesn't want to be here and already had his sights set on LA from what we heard. Right. Was that really the reason? Do you think like that's the reason why most of the fan base was so uproar? Because we're used to people being like, we don't want to be here. Right. And so now we're trading for another one of those guys as opposed to keeping a guy that actually wanted to stay. Is that why people were so mad? Is that why you were so mad?
I think it's part of that, but I think it goes deeper than that. I think now for the Raptor fan, even the casual fan, I think for a Toronto sports fan, we're not used to a certain level of success.
Yes.
Right?
Totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree there.
And from where the Raptors were to where they are now.
Yeah.
Is a big leap.
Yeah.
Right? So I think they're thinking with Kawhi's situation unknown that 1 year of Kawhi is not worth the however many years after that of a rebuild, of going back to not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Going back to the lottery.
I got you. I can understand that. And I think the fan base, they're so focused on because there's so much uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
If you go back to when this actually happened, we had quotes out there about there's no chance Kawhi wants to be here. Right. There were reports about when he was here for the All-Star game, he hated the cold and he never left his hotel room. There's is he actually hurt? Right? There's so much uncertainty. And then as the week progressed, there were so many other layers that added to it. So if you were in your feelings, which I feel like is going to be a theme of this podcast, right? If you were already in your feelings about this, and then you see DeMar go on a emoji spree where he's just like, you could tell that he's still upset. You see Masai starts his press conference, which I want to get your take on that. Masai starts his press conference by saying he's apologizing to DeMar DeRozan for what he could have been a gap in communication. So that's kind of giving, I guess, credence to what DeMar was saying, that he was told one thing and then another thing happened. Sure. What did you make of that situation in terms of DeMar thinking that Masai told him he wasn't going to get traded, and then all of a sudden, boom, 2 days later, you're on the Spurs? Foots, I'll start with you while Q thinks.
You know what? Honestly, man, if it's about respect, DeMar, if it's about respect, everything that you're saying, is warranted. It's granted. Because at the end of the day, I don't like somebody else to tell me how I feel. So if he's telling us how he feels, this is how he truly feels, then that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Right? So
we can respect.
It's a communication issue, right? But come on, dude. Now it's 2 days, 3 days, 4 days later, the situation happened. If it's solely off of respect, we got to move forward. We got to move on. And at the end of the day, he could have done you real dirty and sent you to Brooklyn or sent you to Orlando or sent you to Sacramento. Or
it's true. He
sent you to the world-class organization. He sent you to the Spurs, knowing that, hey, you're in great hands. The player that we wanted you to be in Toronto, I'm telling you, Toronto fans, you may not like it, but he's going to be that player for San Antonio in the future, and we were a stepping stone franchise for his career, and that's okay.
So should DeMar, because I guess there's some level of Masai told DeMar one thing, and then another thing happened. Right. Does DeMar have a right to be upset with how that happened?
Of course. Yes, as now of course you may not see him as the superstar. He's just an all-star in the East.
That was never
no. But I'm saying
right.
So
right.
That's fair.
You're right.
I do.
But he's at a certain level in the NBA, whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
right.
Facts.
And he is. I know a lot of people like to say Kyle is the heart of the team, and because he's the more emotional player. DeRozan is our best player.
Yeah.
and he was our all-star. He was the closest thing we had to that superstar status.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Ever or
not
saying
I'm
right
not
now?
saying right. I'm not saying
Just
this,
right
this
now, like
generation,
in the
this team,
in the moment,
this
in the
team,
moment. Okay.
Right? So, again, we were just talking about this. When you look around the league, like nothing happened in Cleveland without LeBron's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened in Golden State without Draymond and Curry giving that okay.
Okay.
I like how you threw in Draymond.
Well,
Because I have a
keep
counter.
going. No,
Keep
keep going.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So nothing really happened. So when someone gives you what DeMar has given us,
Yeah.
and is at that certain level, and he comes out and asks you straight up, hearing the rumors, is something going on?
The rumors are out there.
I'm not saying you said this, you got to say that Masai's got to go to him and can say like, buddy, you're out of here.
Yeah.
But
or we're close.
you could have said like, there have been talks.
Yeah. Okay.
You could have.
Yes,
you
I
could have.
agree.
Right.
So-
So you don't want to say like this is the deal on the table because
Of course.
Here's
DeMar
one thing,
could- DeMar could squash that.
But here's the one thing though, like we don't know, like, and I don't think we'll ever know what was actually said, right? But we have to keep in mind, like there has to be some level of, I don't want to say gamesmanship because that's a wrong term, but if I'm Masai Ujiri and we know that in Masai's presser, he mentioned the fact that at the time when he spoke to DeMar, the Raptors were 4th on the Spurs list.
Right.
Okay. So is Masai supposed to be honest about that and say, hey, DeMar, we're in talks with the Spurs, but right now we're 4th on the list. And then fourth means what? Like that doesn't sound like that trade's going to happen, right?
even
So then hold on.
Okay.
He tells DeMar DeRozan, let's play this out and say he tells DeMar DeRozan that, and then now DeMar DeRozan doesn't get traded. Mm-hmm. What did you just do to your franchise going forward into this season? Your star player, you just told him that you're on the trade block and we almost traded you, we wanted to trade you, but they didn't want you, right? And now you got to come back and lead our team to another second round loss. Like that's not going to happen. That's not realistic.
That was more,
What's Masai supposed to say?
That was more detailed than an answer than what was reasonable, right? You could say
there's trade talks going on.
There has been talks. You could have said. You didn't even have to say. He could even said me and Pop have had discussions.
Here's the thing,
right?
though. Let's keep
parameters haven't been set yet.
I was gonna save this until we got to the part of DeMar's ESPN interview that he did. But this whole like naivete of freaking I didn't know what was going on. Like the Raptors lost 2 years ago in the playoffs, right? We all know they got swept. They lost 12 straight games to the Cavs. But let's not crush them too hard. After they got swept 2 years ago, Masai came out and said, we need to do a culture reset, right? Those were words like, that's not through sources. That's out of the president of the team's mouth.
Right.
Nothing really happens. They make minor changes. They come back with the same team. They get swept out of the playoffs again. And my guy's talking about how we're open for business. Again, that's out of the president's mouth. That's not through sources. It's not through anyone else.
What do we want to do the next year?
If I'm DeMar DeRozan and I'm hearing the president of the team say, we need a culture reset. Oh, we're open for business. And I'm the star player and I've struggled the past 2 playoff runs. I can't be that surprised that I'm getting traded, can I?
No,
you're right. You're right.
I'm not even saying upset. I understand
Right.
him being upset, but I feel like he's acting like he's so surprised. Like, oh my God, how could they trade me? It's like, Masai's been telling us for 2 years, culture reset. I'm open for business. We found out there was a rumor about DeMar for Wiggins, which was out there for a while, which, there's some level of credibility to now that came out, right? That we know DeMar was on the table for Wiggins. Whichever side that came from, we don't know. But my point is, where there's smoke, there's fire. And if for 3 years there's been all this talk with your president saying that major changes are on the way, that's a part that's baffling to me. Forget the fan base. DeMar, you can't be that surprised.
Doesn't matter who you are in the NBA, unless you're LeBron, you can't really be shocked at all when the business of basketball comes
also
through.
true.
But
That's true.
If I ask you Tuesday, if this specific rumor, if there's anything to it, and you tell me no, and then Thursday I'm headed to San Antonio.
But I think that says a lot. I think that just says a lot.
But what is he supposed to say? What is he supposed to say if
it says a lot to where DeRozan is and where his place is at the end of the day, because the guys that you said from before, those guys are those guys are superstars.
Those guys have rings.
Those guys have rings and they're
There's
superstars,
levels,
right?
man.
So I feel like,
Of course, but
I feel like yes, DeMar DeRozan is our star player, right? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you know, he's just an all-star.
So we've established we think DeMar DeRozan has a reason to be upset. Right. Maybe if he takes a step back and with time he'll be able to understand. Do you think this will affect the Raptors moving forward in terms of free agents or star players trusting Masai Ujiri and the Raptors organization going forward? Right? Like, is that a problem in terms of perception? Like, oh, if that's how they did DeRozan, how am I going to go there? I'm asking the question. I don't think this, but I'm just asking the question to you guys.
I think there is that possibility, especially like, again, when we go back to our chat group and the many discussions we've had over this week.
Yes.
Yes, Toronto's a big city, the
Yeah.
fourth biggest city in North America, and blah 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 blah. In the NBA, we are Milwaukee.
Yeah.
We are.
But
San
here's the
Antonio.
thing,
We're still a small market, even though we're the only team in this country.
Yeah.
We are a small market team. We are not. So anything else negative just makes that position worse.
But to me,
Might not be
I've
that-
heard
I
that
think
argument. No,
I
sorry.
think the Raptors need to change the narrative. I think that narrative for guys don't want to come here, this, that, and the third beat. That was the last 10 years ago.
I like that.
It's a new.
I agree.
Let's change that narrative. This is Torontonians. Let's change that narrative. We now have a legit superstar in town. Let's change the narrative.
And I think that's what Masai's been trying to preach, right, over the past few weeks in talking about the trade. But also, like, if you listen to him and listen to everything he's been saying after these playoff exits, he's consistently been talking about taking the next step with the organization. And I can't lie to you guys. I've been hard on him on the fact that, okay, well, what are we actually doing to do that, right?
Exactly.
Because there's been a lot of talk about this for a while.
Say
about
whatever you want.
And I thought, and I'm not gonna back off my statements then. I've said, I'm like, hey, it's one thing for them to say this publicly, but I wonder what they're saying behind the scenes.
Ambassador.
But I wonder what they're saying behind the scenes, because we know that MLSC is about making money. And so if they can guarantee playoff rounds, they're going to take that over risking it over a rebuild. Right. And so I wondered, are they actually serious about trying to make a championship, make the finals? And Masai Ujiri stepped out and did that. And you know what? For that, I'm going to ride with Masai. I'm going to ride with him for that, because that move, what he did, takes balls. What do you mean, did he do that? Hold on a second. Two things.
I've never
Hold
seen
on.
a GM for the Toronto Raptors make.
Hold on.
Obviously, but like
This year, don't the Raptors aren't the Raptors a better team right now than they were before the trade for this season?
But they're not a championship. Like,
hold on.
Like to
do
me,
they have
no,
a
they're
better
not a
chances?
team.
Do they have
Are
better
they competitive
chance?
with Boston?
Do they have
I
a
don't
better
think so.
chance
I
of
think so.
winning a championship now than they did before they made the trade?
Yes.
Thank you.
Kawhi,
So he done his job,
yes,
no?
Kawhi is a better player than DeRozan. But
And
this
Danny
is today,
Green.
but
And
this is
Danny
today.
Green. Let's talk
But
about
this
Danny
is
Green
the
too,
Green-
because I feel like hold on. No.
Stop. And the reason I stop you two is because we've had these conversations before.
I'm boosting Danny Green. That's what he
in
said.
when San Antonio
Don't
in San Antonio versus Cavs series in the past, where you guys have both told me Danny Green, you guys out of your both of your mouths have told me Danny Green is trash. Don't tell me now that Danny Green is now going to come. Him and Kawhi are going to come and save us.
Trash compared to LeBron. Of course,
Kawhi,
he's guarding LeBron.
you
LeBron's giving him the business.
Exactly. But you still got to get through LeBron.
We're talking
it's either going to be LeBron or Kevin Durant.
Hold on.
So if he was trash against them in San Antonio, he's going to be trash against them in Toronto.
But Danny Green is an upgrade over whoever else you're like. Okay, you have OG. No, but let's be real for a second. Danny Green is an upgrade over CJ Miles. He's an up, and CJ Miles. They were relying on CJ Miles last year in the playoffs, and he didn't do anything. Danny Green's an upgrade over that.
So they are.
Danny Green might start.
They are closer to a championship for this year. Are they re-signing Danny Green?
I don't know.
Kawhi coming back?
But we're talking. We're talking about this year.
But this is okay. But this is the argument. So making it to the Eastern Conference Finals is good. That
Yo.
If this year ends in Eastern Conference Finals, right? And that's it, and then Kawhi leaves. Right? If that happens,
Are you asking the question?
Yeah,
Yes, this is a question.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, it was
Yeah,
worth it.
yeah,
Yes, it was worth it.
We-
Because if he
we've been to the Eastern Conference
we still have
Finals.
space for
Listen,
two max
DeRozan
players.
took you to the
I'm not
Eastern
worried.
Conference Finals.
We're not. Hold on. Whoa. We're not
you-
that.
and you-
Whoa. Let's stop.
And-
You just-
and-
Did
you
he
just
take us
get-
to the finals? Did he take us to the Eastern? Hold on. Did he take us to the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yes, we went to the
Hold
Eastern
on.
Conference Finals.
Was Cleveland on that road to the finals, or were they waiting for us in the Eastern Conference Finals? And did we take the L in the Eastern Conference Finals to who? To who? Who did we take the L to?
But
Hold on.
to Cleveland. So if we lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to Boston, it's still good. It's still
hold
good.
on. I'm on this, and I talked
We're not
about this.
losing.
I talked
We're
about
not
this with
losing.
Webby too. But here,
Bottle money, I told you, whenever you want to put it up, we're not losing to those guys in the finals. So I'm telling you.
No, but here's
we're
what I'm
not
saying,
losing
though.
to those boys.
the part that I think we like graze over right now, and I think DeMar DeRozan is kind of grazing over right now, is when we talk about this Raptors
Accountability.
team. No, but we talk about this Raptors team, and okay, well, they made it to the conference finals once, right? Okay. That is true. But when we really break down how they made it to that conference finals, okay? Right. Paul George was about to give them the business and give them a first-round exit until Norm Powell had to come off the bench and save them. Well, if we remember, Lowry and DeRozan were struggling in that first-round series.
Facts.
Second-round series, Lowry played a little bit better against Miami. Same with DeRozan. And they went to 7 games against a dusted-ass D-Wade. D-Wade's last hurrah, basically, right? Okay. A dusted D-Wade. Remember their starting lineup? Because remember, Hassan got hurt. So it was dusted D-Wade, Justice Winslow, Dragic. Justice Winslow was playing like the 5. Like, there's no way you go to 7 games against that crappy Miami Heat team. Then you get to the Cavs, and you lose because you lose to the Cavs every year. But I'm saying there's a lot of revisionist history in terms of, oh, they got to conference finals. But how did they get to conference finals? It wasn't led by DeRozan and Lowry. That's not how it went down. I remember at the time we were talking about, because I remember people were crushing Casey. And I was saying, you can't crush any coach for getting to the conference finals with your 2 best players playing almost like your 2 worst players. That was the situation of that playoff run. That was the situation of every playoff run the Raptors have had. So now to sit and say, well, DeRozan got us to... No, DeRozan got us very good regular season success. And he improved in the regular season each and every year. But you know what? His scoring average was below his regular season average every single playoff.
Q, what would you want
That's
Masai
just
to do in
facts.
the offseason? With the team that we had before, with DeRozan, what would you want him to do?
All I'm saying is if you can't say champion, like right now, you went from a 3-year window to a 1-year window. Until, like I said, until that man signs on the dotted
But
line.
it's a 3-year window of what?
Until that man signs on the dotted line, this is a 1-year window.
And
so
I'm okay with that.
You can't.
To do what?
Like, I'm not ignorant, so right, and you guys shouldn't be either. To think that the man's interview said, like, my goal is championships, not making it to the finals or the Eastern Conference Finals, but it's championships. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to beat Golden State, to me, and I'm hoping when
we're gonna do that with DeMar.
I don't know if
were we gonna do that with Kyle?
I don't know I don't know if this will ever come out. But to me, if you're building a championship team that's going to go up against Golden State, Kyle should have been the one to go. And I'm hoping. No, that's freeze. I'm just saying.
I'm letting you finish. I'll let you
finish.
And
you like.
What's the chances that Masai was trying to get Kyle first off the block?
Of course he was. If you could have traded,
not even hopefully.
If you could have traded Kyle Lowry, come on, Q. You just hold on, Q. You were just talking. Hold on, you were just. You're just talking about.
No. Like you guys started the show off with Masai. I trust.
You were just talking about. You were just talking about the difference between Raptors fans and basketball fans.
And that's right.
You think that Masai would try to trade?
No, I didn't say that. I said I hope. Because that obviously that would never come out.
So you don't think that?
I didn't say I never did. I never say I never did. I never said I never did. But what I said is that is the trade to me. If that happens, and now you have DeMar at the 2, Kawhi at the 3, and whatever other pieces fit around it.
Okay.
And now you come to the press conference and say my goal is championships. I shake my head.
I like to. Obviously, we will never know, right? But let's deal in probabilities here, right? Follow me for a second.
And that's why I said I didn't say it didn't.
No. Follow me for a second.
I don't think Masai's an idiot.
What about when Masai?
But what about when made mistake? He's not infallible.
So
he's not.
Let's go with what we know, right? We know that Masai talked to DeMar DeRozan, right? And DeMar asked, "Hey, there's rumors out there about a trade." is there a trade? And Masai said, we know because he said this at the time, there was nothing imminent, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we know that at the time the offer wasn't Lowry, whatever, fill in the blank. Obviously, and the Spurs are like, we're looking at this offer. You know what? That's 4th on the list. Sorry, Masai, but you're 4th right now on the list. So now when he sees DeRozan and he's like, well, there's nothing imminent. What am I going to tell DeMar anyways? Right? Mm-hmm. Cool. Let that slide. And now the Spurs roll back because we know Pop is going to coach we know he's going to coach through the Olympics, right? Because he wants to coach the U.S. Olympic team. Mm-hmm. And many people assume after that happens, he's then going to step down and he's going to retire.
One more year.
Sure. However you want to slice it, cool. He has 1 more year. You're backing up my point right now because that tells me that in Pop's mind, I'm not taking the package of draft picks from the Celtics because I'm not going to be here for draft picks. He's not taking the young picks or the young players from the Lakers because I need guys that can go right now. So then he comes back around and says, well, what if we got DeMar DeRozan? Because at least that's still getting me an all-star, and we made the playoffs last year without Kawhi, but now we're going to add an all-star to that. I can roll with that, and that's the offer. And he comes back to Masai now with that offer. I'm just saying, let's be logical for a second.
I didn't say Masai didn't. I said I hope that was
everybody.
The thing. And I said if you're gonna, and I said to me, sitting here, listening to that press conference, if you're preaching championships, then you put a championship team together. And I don't think the addition of Danny Green, who's going to come in and upgrade us, and Kawhi Leonard on this team, guarantees you that, or not guarantees you, or is going to get you to that championship. Is going to get you. Is going to get you. But you just guaranteed me that they're going to the finals.
Two things. One, I don't think he's done. 2 things. I don't think he's done.
You know he's not done. I said until the next move happens.
Yeah,
I can't be happy with the trade.
You can't be happy with the trade. Here's the thing, though, Q, that I don't understand.
DeMar was never taking us to the promised land, people.
Yeah, I feel like if you're Masai, and he said
we were a stepping stone for DeMar DeRozan's career, Toronto. It's cool. It's fine.
It's not even that.
I've been a stepping stone for a lot of women to get married. It's fine. It's cool. Let's call it what it is, guys. Come on, man.
What just happened?
You feel me?
I don't know what just happened.
I gotta break this up, man. Come on, man.
Hold on.
We just, oh man.
But I feel like I had to go to left field because this is crazy to me. This is crazy to me. We finally got a superstar, Toronto. We finally got a superstar, Toronto. Come on. The reason why I said that because I wanted to break the tension. At the end of the day, too, come on, man. We finally got a superstar in Toronto.
Yeah.
Regardless. So let's take it up. Let's take the onus on ourselves and try to keep him here.
Here's my thing too.
You have a say in whether Kawhi's.
It's not even that. Here's the thing, though.
No, I don't.
Here's the big joke is.
Hold on.
Remember the big joke was like, all this. You girls in the city, you guys gave it up to T. Ross and Jermaine O'Neal. You guys better be open for Kawhi and all that. It's all fun and games. This joke.
I wasn't even talking about funny. That. I'm
not talking about you. It's funny, but this whole let's try and keep him here. That's up to the man.
Yeah, but we also know absolutely nothing about Kawhi.
Thank you.
Because here's what happened since, right?
We went from Paul George going to the Lakers all year, and he ended up signing with OKC.
But here's the thing: in a week,
things can happen.
You're Westbrook boy. The man stayed with Westbrook.
Things can happen.
We don't know what's. And here's the thing: in a week, we heard stories from. There's no way he's even going to report. He might sit out a year, which we know is not realistic.
A picture of a man smiling in a Raptor gym. Come on, guys.
To him taking the physical. Hold on. Wait, Q. Wait. Let me finish.
I can show you that smile.
You can say whatever you want to say.
I'll just show you that smile.
Let me finish, Q. So in a week, we went from that to reports from not Toronto media. But reports from Kawhi's own San Diego Union Tribune that says, quote, here's what someone who knows Leonard as well as anybody told me privately. He's going to fall in love with Toronto. It's going to happen. He's not going to leave. I'm telling you. Close quote. I'm just saying, do I know that that's true? No. But from in the span of a week, we went from he's not going to show up, he's not going to play, he's going to sit out, the Raptors have no chance of him even putting on a uniform and playing, to now people talking about...
I've watched American
the same people... Hold on. The same people that threw out the other side are now throwing out other things now. Now he passed a physical. Now he's warming to the idea and playing in Toronto. Yo, we were talking about this before we started rolling.
We know the man
the Jordan deal...
and think he's
the Jordan deal did us a favor. The Jordan deal did us a favor. The fact that he doesn't have his Jordan deal means
He's
you're
not
also
even renewing
balling.
his Jordan contract in October. He has to ball.
You're balling for a new NBA contract and a new shoe contract.
Thank you.
He has to ball this year. This is a 1 year, chips in the table, let's go. This might be the best Raptors team we've ever put out
Toronto
there
fan.
because it might be
Thank
the best
Masai later.
player we've ever put out there. And now the flip side, people are still upset. And it's like, well, where were we going with DeMar DeRozan at the helm? Because I don't know about you, but I saw this DeMar DeRozan ESPN interview, right? Where your man's DeMar DeRozan is out here talking about how basically they were just waiting for LeBron to leave. I don't know about you, but is that the leader that you want on your team? The guy that said the only guy that was in our way of making that happen, as in making it to the championship, now he's gone. Now we got a great opportunity to do something that we haven't been able to do. That's a loser's mentality. That sums up everything that we've been saying, we're just waiting for LeBron to leave.
I thank DeMar for that quote. I thank DeMar for that quote.
That comment is different from the comment he made 3 years ago. He said the only guy that stood in our way. He's talking past tense, and we've seen it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now he's not in our way.
But you know what? That's an attitude.
He didn't say, "Oh, if LeBron would have resigned." If he would have said, if LeBron would have stayed, then I could understand.
No, you know what he did say? He said we would have won the series if we had LeBron too. That's what he said 2 years ago after
That's 2 years ago.
Okay.
That's 2 years ago. But you brought up this comment.
I did bring up this comment.
This is the
As
same
if-
comment
as
to
if
me.
it was
In
the
my
same.
in my interpretation, this is the same
Again,
comment.
DeMar
2 years ago
DeRozan
to now.
haters, which the two of you have always been,
I'm
will
a
say
DeMar
that.
hater.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
I know.
Can I ask you a question though?
What?
Why is
I
saying
said that
something,
I didn't want to resign him. And
Why
look
is
what
saying
happened now.
something? Why is
I don't
saying something that DeMar DeRozan said himself?
Thank you. I'm a hater
DeMar
for
DeRozan
repeating
hater.
what he said.
This is what he said. I'm not putting words in his mouth.
You're very right. You're very right.
Yeah,
What have
yeah.
I always said about DeMar DeRozan? That he's an all-star, and that there's different levels. That's all I've said.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair to say? Can I say that he's
Of
an
course.
all-star?
I think we found
That's
that
what
out.
he's been.
I
He's
think
been an all-star, and that's good.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, would I would trade places with DeMar DeRozan? 1,000%. I would love to play in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
That's a blessing. 1,000%.
Yeah.
But it's put it in the proper context, and that's what I like to put players in their context. DeMar DeRozan is a great NBA player.
Yeah.
He's an all-star, but there's a difference. There's only 8 to 10 superstars in the NBA. That's a fact. There's more all-stars than superstars. Q, that's a fact.
Part of what I try to do on this podcast is aggregate a bunch of content and then give you the information and let you do what you will with said information, right? Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, Q. When I read that same article that we talked about in which there's someone saying, hey, maybe Kawhi is like, they think that Kawhi is going to stay. In said article, there are quotes from the mother of one Norman Powell. Okay. Are you aware of this? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Exactly the comment you're talking about.
So in this article, they're talking about how Norman Powell is from the San Diego area as well, right? And so his mom, through NBA circles, is now like friends, and I'm using the air quotes because, loosely, because I don't know the level of their friendships, but that's how it's described in the article. Mm-hmm. She's friends with Kawhi's mom, and she's talking, in the article, there's quotes where she's talking about how nice Toronto is and how her and her family also fell in love with Toronto and they've had such great experiences coming to the city, and how she's going to try to share that light as well with Kawhi Leonard's mom and their family. To, you might not know it because she understood it, right? She was talking about how she understood the fact that, they're from the West Coast. They don't know anything about Toronto, much less Canada, but getting there, it was a great spot. To me, these are all just stories, and we're going to get a bunch of these things over the next year as the wave of will he stay, will he go continues. But don't things like that kind of at least give you some reason to be like, there's a chance that he might stay? And whether or not he does, because whether or not all you're trading in is 2 years of what we've already seen from the Toronto Raptors. So isn't it worth it to put those chips in and say, hey, this might be the best team we've ever had. This might be the best player we've ever had. Let's go. Like, we're talking about a legit MVP, like NBA MVP candidate. Not I finished 8th. Not I finished what? Didn't Bosch come in like 5th at 1 year or something like that? Bosch was somewhere up there in the top 10 one of those years, right? My point is, this is a chance to really go at it and say, hey, this is 1 year. Let's do this. And who knows what can happen? Because if I go back 2 years ago in the NBA, right? 3 years ago in the NBA, would you have thought Kevin Durant would be on the Warriors? Would you have thought Boogie Cousins would have been on the Warriors? Would you have thought Paul George would be on the Thunder? Would you thought LeBron would be on the Lakers? Like, this is just all just happened. Chris Paul on the Rockets. Like, all of these things happened within 3 years. So how crazy is it to think that Kawhi might re-sign? Like, all that's taught me is we literally have no idea what's going to happen in the NBA. So you know what? Hot hand in the dice game, Masai. Let's go. Let's roll. No? I don't get why you seem so like
I'm rolling.
right?
I'm rolling with the
roll the
active
dice.
GM.
Let's go.
I'm rolling with the active.
The trade's
GM.
done, so I hope everybody who has some say in it.
Do you think
gets the man to stay?
You seem as salty as DeMar does.
But I understand. This is the thing.
No, I lie.
Maybe I'm doing the opposite of you.
Mm-hmm.
And going a little overboard, and you guys are, I'm salty. Like obviously,
I know you're
obviously
not.
a Kawhi.
No, I think you are
Obviously, a Kawhi for DeRozan trade.
I know he's not.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. But I think part of it is nobody likes the unknown.
The only thing I would maybe look at it and be like, when the lights is on, is Nick Nurse going to be?
Yeah,
is going to be up to the challenge.
That's a big thing.
But other than that,
our
defense is stellar.
The other interesting part, and this is why the Danny Green part matters, right? Because look at how the Celtics are built, and obviously the Raptors don't have the same players as the Boston Celtics. I'm not saying that, and obviously, I mean it's close, but the Boston Celtics don't have the same players as
the Raptors.
As the Warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm saying.
There's levels to this.
The players aren't the same, but the way and the style of play, the lineups that they can throw out are essentially the same. And what they did by getting Danny Green now is, and we have to remember, DeRozan was a liability. I know people are going to try to fake the funk now and be like, oh, he wasn't that bad on defense and blah, blah, blah. Now the Raptors, you can be throwing out lineups where you have Danny Green, Kawhi, OG, Siakam. Like they're switching everything on a screen. Everything. And that's what the NBA is, right? Same thing with Jaylen Brown and Tatum. They're switching everything. Same with Klay Thompson, Draymond, Durant. They're switching everything. That's what the NBA is. This is what they've also way improved their three-point shooting. This team going forward for this year, who knows what can happen, man? And then you deal with next year afterwards. But you wanted the flexibility going forward because, as Masai said, and I want to get your take on this too as we move on to the DeMar DeRozan interview more so that he did with Chris Haynes of ESPN, right? But Masai said, and this is what, if you pay attention to this podcast, I think I told you that like 3 weeks ago, this is Masai saying this era is done. He said in his press conference, well, I gave them a chance. It's not like I could have came in here, and he was like firm on it too. He's like, it's not like I came in here and got rid of everyone. I gave them a chance. I gave them 5 years. Casey re-upped. He's like, I could have changed coaches. I could have traded people, and instead I gave them a chance, and it didn't work out.
You were the man you were the man. I didn't even want to give the DeRozan a bag, and you were the man like, no, you have to give it to him. You have to give it to him. You have to give it to him. I'm like, nah, I don't even want to give this man a bag.
And
I don't want to give Lowry the bag, and he did. He
gave them a chance, and they still took L's. So DeMar DeRozan is. I'm not asking you if you're salty. We know that you're not salty. We know that DeMar DeRozan is salty after seeing that interview. He seemed to be upset about Masai Ujiri saying that he gave them a chance. Does he have a right to be upset about that? Not you, DeMar DeRozan. Does DeMar DeRozan have a right to be upset that Masai said he gave them a chance?
On that fact, I'm going to say no. As everybody knows in business, at the end of the day, if a new boss comes in, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, is cleaning house first.
Yeah.
He never cleaned house. Mm-hmm. And then, on top of that, you weren't successful in the playoffs multiple times. He still gave you guys the bag.
True.
That's the part that I have to stress and put in there. You didn't have success in the playoffs when the money time. He turned around and still gave you your bags.
Yeah. Do you know what I appreciate?
With the expectation that like, hey, we're going to improve.
Do you know what I give them credit for too? On both sides, I appreciate, you know what I appreciate the most? And not just because we do a podcast and it's the summertime and we still have content to talk about, but I appreciate the fact that both Masai and DeMar have been completely open. You know what I mean? Like
they're saying two different things though.
Yeah, but that's still how they feel. Like,
of course,
we forget. Hold on. Wait a second. We forget in 2018. We forget in the year 2018 where it's a hard line in the sand about either you're a dick rider or you're a hater. But you are like there. Two things in the world are allowed to exist. Masai Ujiri is allowed to say, hey, we gave DeRozan a chance, we gave Casey a chance, they couldn't make it, and now we traded. And DeMar DeRozan is allowed to say, I disagree with that. Like those two things are allowed to. Those two things are allowed to exist. So I like that they're both mad.
What is your question?
My question is, what I was saying though, Q, I was just making the point that I'm happy and I enjoy the fact that they're both being honest about what's going on instead of giving the same cookie cutter answers, or instead of, because Masai was firm. Like, he came out there and he apologized, and I like how he handled the press conference in the sense that it wasn't with Kawhi. Whoever knows, like, I don't know the details of how that went down. Maybe Kawhi wasn't available. Maybe Kawhi didn't want to do the press conference. We don't know that. But I'm saying I think it was a good move anyways to have this press conference if you're Masai Ujiri, so you can get all the DeMar DeRozan questions and stuff out there. Right? You get that all out there without Kawhi being right beside you, because that just would have been super awkward for an already awkward situation. Right? So I'm just saying, I like the fact that Masai Ujiri was open and honest about the fact of how he felt. He felt like he gave them a chance. And he also felt that if he came back and didn't do anything and brought back the same team, what would we be talking about right now? We'd be dissing them, saying, like, what are you guys doing? All of them. Like, how are you bringing back the same team again and just hoping that, oh, well, LeBron's gone. Maybe we can beat the Celtics now. Like, that Celtics team without two of their best players won 3 games from LeBron. Raptors got swept. Bad.
Right?
I'm looking at you because you want to keep DeMar. You didn't like the move because you're saying 3 years of DeMar for 1 year of Kawhi.
Right.
But that's all based off of LeBron being gone?
Because I have no faith in what comes after. Should Kawhi not stay.
That's a different and that's a different.
But hold on a second.
I understand.
Hold on a second.
I understand the whole thing about change the narrative.
I understand that,
but it is not up to Masai. It is up to the NBA players.
I disagree with that.
How?
Because at the same time, Masai Ujiri plays a big role in building an organization that NBA players might want to come to. Because you know what? Follow me for a second. At a certain point, the narrative was, follow me. At a certain point, the narrative was Damon Stoudemire left, right? The narrative was Chris Bosh left. The narrative was Vince and T-Mac both left. And then you know what? When the narrative was nobody ever stays, you know what happened? DeMar stayed.
Right.
So things just change because eventually someone says, hey, I'm going to change. We talk about it, and this was in the group text too, right? The narrative was nobody wants to come play in Toronto if I'm a hockey player and I'm from here. And then you know what? Eventually someone changes their mind and then they do it. Things like it's a trend until it isn't. So eventually all you can do as Masai Ujiri is continue to build up your organization. Make your organization look legit. You don't think that NBA players, they can try to pretend like they're salty now, but you don't think that Masai photo op with President Obama and all those things, especially with what's going on in the States right now and who's running that team, you think that there's not NBA players where things like that matter on some level? Of course it does.
Of course.
So I'm just saying you're saying it's not up to Masai. You're saying it's not up to Masai.
I have no faith in the after.
You're saying it's not up to Masai, and I'm telling you it is up to Masai because he still has to build an organization that is ready for the player that does say, yes, I'm coming to play.
Yes, sir.
That's big.
But where's that organization?
He's building it right.
He's
building it right now.
What
do you mean? He's building it right now. The Raptors aren't a much more legitimate organization than they were 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Of course they are.
Come on.
They're a much more legitimate organization. I don't know what you're thinking of. That's not even a question.
You're right.
Since the All-Star, we had an All-Star game here, right? Like things have changed. I'm just saying things have changed the Raptors.
The Raptors are not just a laughing stock. And you know what? I'm going to further prove this point because you know what gets me cheese too? The fact of the American media. Because the Raptors are a joke to the American media every single year.
Which
every
is
regular season.
Everybody else's mindset too. I'm telling you.
But every single season
is
right? But every single season, tell me I'm lying. Every single season, the Raptors are doing well in the regular season, and the American media is saying, we don't believe in Lowry and DeRozan. We know they're not real. They're whack. Playoffs are going to come around. They're going to choke like they always do. And then now, all of a sudden, when the Raptors upgrade their star player and get Kawhi Leonard, now it's, how can you give up on DeMar DeRozan? And it's like, hold on. About a week ago, y'all were dissing Lowry and DeRozan every single week, and now Masai steps up to the plate and says, no, we're going to upgrade. We're trying to make big moves, and now we want to be oh, well, we can't get rid of DeMar. Doesn't that tell you? I feel like Raptors, and Footsy said this earlier, Raptors fans, Raptors media, everyone involved with this team, you need to have better expectations. That's what Masai is trying to bring. Because if you don't realize that the Americans treat us as a play ting, and this whole, oh, well, how could they do that to DeRozan? That's because they want us to be on this whack level still. They want to look at us like we're second tier organization. We're below franchise. We're not one of those, we're not really a top, 4 market in North America, right? Like Toronto is a big legit city, and Masai is trying to get us to be viewed at that standpoint. American media, they don't really want to fuck with Toronto like that. So they'd rather, oh, well, you know what you guys are good enough for? You guys are good enough for the level of star player of DeMar DeRozan. And you guys should be satisfied with that level of star player of DeMar DeRozan. That's the undertone that I'm getting from this talk. Yep. Because I know when playoff time came...
It fits your narrative.
When playoff time came... Am I wrong, though? When playoff time came around,
American
all we heard...
shits on the Raptors.
They were shitting on the Raptors. They're shitting on the Raptors.
Or last place. They shit on us.
They're shitting on the Raptors. And now that you're trying to make bigger moves, now you want to gas DeRozan? I saw a tweet last night where a guy's like, oh, superstar DeMar DeRozan is going to show up to USA camp. I'm like, when were y'all calling DeMar a superstar when he was on the Raptors? That wasn't happening. It's all everyone fitting into their narratives, right? And like, I rate Barkley. Barkley saying it's a big move for both teams. And I think it is a good move for both teams. But have better expectations for what our organization can be. And I'm saying because I rep Toronto. It's not a basketball thing alone. It's the more the Raptors put on for our city, the better it is for all of us. And I think making a move like this, stepping into the light and saying, you know what? We're going to bet on our organization. Because that's the same shit OKC did. OKC is a small, you can't even compare the cities of Oklahoma City to Toronto, right? Like those two things don't even add up. And I know that they have Russ, and obviously that's a major factor. But I'm saying you're talking about an organization that bet on themselves. And that's what you want your GM to do. You don't want your GM to sit around and be like, you know what? If we plot it out correctly and we wait, in 3 years, maybe Golden State breaks up and LeBron's gone to the West, but we'll still have Kyle and DeMar. And maybe then in 3 years, we'll be ready to win the championship.
I would have preferred pairing up DeMar with or another all-star or superstar, but the tandem of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan had to end.
Had to.
That's just my opinion. I don't care how it ended, but I would have preferred Lowry first. I would have preferred a package of Lowry and whatever two young players and first round pick or whatever the case may be to be gone. But obviously Lowry's value is not there no more.
What did you think overall of DeMar's interview with ESPN?
I mean, it doesn't help the Raptors, obviously.
No, but I just mean like you.
And just his. The man said he was upset. He has a right to be upset.
I'm upset. Sorry.
And I think that whole respect factor. See, that's how what he was. He was our superstar. He might not be a superstar in the
grand scheme of
I got you.
In most people's
But he was our superstar.
But he was our superstar.
For
and
sure.
I think there was a certain level of respect
that wasn't
that
met.
if shown to him would be better off in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trying to sign those free agents.
Yeah.
Than we are right now.
For sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah. No, it's true.
That's interesting.
Because I mean, like it or not, forget what the media thinks. There was many an NBA player who came up who said, and again he said that some of these guys, I don't have their phone number, I'm not friends. Like some of them weren't even all stars, right?
Yeah.
And then you're saying you don't care about if they're not all stars, but some of them weren't all stars. And if you gotta think that if a man like Anthony Morrow, who's I don't even know if he's still in the league, has something to say about it.
Do you know what?
What a Kevin Durant or somebody like that feel about?
But have
the
you noticed?
situation?
But have you noticed now that these star players now are coming out and voicing displeasure with the organization? Are you seeing now? Remember, it started with Isaiah Thomas. He put everything on the court. He looked at Danny Ainge same way. Listen, I didn't like it. It's a respect thing.
But he also said he would have came back this year if they offered him a contract.
I think it's for both sides. It's for players and GMs.
Which is what you said earlier. It's business,
it's just,
right?
It's business, but it's how you do business, and it's a respect thing. So you're right. Q is right, but at the same time too, I think both GMs and the players should take something from the situation. Respect is everything. How you do business and communicate is everything. right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm interested to hear what Masai, like the next time we hear from Masai, and just what his reaction will be. Because Masai, one thing I'll give Masai Ujiri, he's always very candid, right? Like, especially if you compare him to Brian Colangelo. And, you know, in the sense that Brian Colangelo was always very polished. Brian Colangelo is very, like, lawyer-like, right? Like, we never really got anything candid.
Look where the polish got us.
I mean, minus what recently happened to Brian Colangelo. Well, that's another story for another day. But you know what I'm saying? Actually, I'm going to take this time to wave bye to our Instagram Live people. But shout out, tune in, look for the podcast on SoundCloud, on YouTube,
we
and
see you, Dwayne.
On...
You know what it is.
Yes, sir. We
see you, Braf.
SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. And I'll put some clips up on Instagram, Facebook, all that fun stuff. But thanks for tuning in. I don't know how often we'll be able to do this, but just wanted to say hi. Later, Instagram Live. But to continue just what we were talking about, right? Like, I just think that in that interview, again, I love the era of how candid it is, that we can hear the raw and real feelings of what DeMar DeRozan has, right? Like, I might disagree with some of what he said, but I appreciate that he says it. And I appreciate in 2018 where the NBA is, that, you know, we hear that stuff, right? I love that factor of it. Now,
that's
with that said,
wins compared to
other sports, because you're never getting that insider info.
And I might disagree with some stuff, but I found it funny that he said he went to Drake's house. And like talked to Drake. I was just kind of like, okay, that's
poured up the whiskey and you know had a little combo.
I just found it was very like in my feelings, right? Like it was definitely in my feelings. But the point that you made earlier, Drake is a Raptors global ambassador. Now it's time to earn those courtside seats, and you need to be trying to get Kawhi to stay. I'm being dead serious. I'm not even making a joke.
True.
I'm being dead serious. Like, now it's time.
This is the time
like,
where
this
you
is
earn your title.
This
is the time you earn your title.
This is what it is.
This is why Jay-Z was part owner of Brooklyn. And when LeBron didn't sign there, Jay-Z was no longer the...
Well,
obviously there was business deals and all on the side, but he was there for LeBron.
Yeah,
that was
if there's a chance, they're preparing themselves that if there was a chance LeBron would come, cool. Yeah, and I think this is a thing where, Drizzy, this is where you own your money. You own it, right? And you know what's funny, too? Someone brought this up online. I wish I could remember who it was. It was one of the Raptors guys, or maybe it was a Leaf guy, because the point was, this is what Tim Leiweke dreamed of. Remember Tim Leiweke when he was a boss of MLSE, 4 years ago or however long ago it was? His whole MO was star power. Right? And because he came from the group in LA, right? Where he was head of the Lakers and they brought Beckham to the Galaxy and all that. That was his whole thing the whole time. Now, he was very brash and like in your face and that rubbed people the wrong way. But he would have loved this offseason where the Leafs get John Tavares and the Raptors get Kawhi Leonard, because you're swinging for the fences and bringing in stars. And I just love everything about this in the sense that you want your GM, you want your president and GM to always be active and trying to improve the team, which he did. And you love the honesty, the realness, the raw emotion that I think you got. Like Masai looked distraught in that presser, too, right? Yeah, he took it personal. He felt certain ways, and we know DeRozan also felt certain ways. I think everything about this is so cool and it's so NBA. And the biggest point I want to make, though, is that even though I disagree with what DeMar DeRozan said or how he's coming off in a lot of these interviews, I still appreciate the fact that he's talking about it. Because when he was just doing the emojis, I was kind of like, bro, like, you're a grown-ass man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get that you're upset, but sit down, do an interview. Like, don't hit me with the face palm emoji, right? Because you're actually cheese that you got traded. So NBA is the best. That's all I got to say about that. The NBA is amazing. I love
my last thing on the trade. Obviously, we're a better team this year.
Isn't that what it's about? I'm joking. I had to get him. It was too easy. You set it up on a team.
Whatever. But I'm not sure the gamble is going to pay off in the end. Right?
I mean, if paying off means different things to different people, but sure.
To me, and you would know what mine is, right?
Yeah.
Maybe lose my train of thought. But anyway,
My bad.
Sorry, like I said, to me, there has to be more. Just like you said. Now, you guys are confident that, this is just the second move of many. Like I said, it's show and prove time.
Yeah.
Right? So I think regardless of whether he brought the same team back or made this big gamble, if it don't pay off in the end, it's bye-bye Masai.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoa,
1,000%.
I disagree with that.
Like this,
I disagree with that.
See,
Is Masai
you know
Ujiri's
what?
job
You know
on the
what?
line?
You know what? Honestly, no. His job is on the line.
His job's on the line.
His job's
if
on the line.
If Kawhi doesn't resign?
His job's on the line if Kawhi doesn't resign.
Wow.
That's a chance. That's,
Do you think that too?
I think so.
Wow.
That's what you take.
And I think,
That's
and
what
I,
you take.
and I think,
listen, he's
and-
rolling the dice.
And
You
I
gotta
think,
listen.
and I think this whole offseason showed a lot of desperation on his side. Wow. And I've said that.
See,
And I said, and I know
He's saying desperation.
I know you're just like, you know, DeRozan in case he had to go, and you might be right.
I'm saying he had to do something major.
No, you're right. No, you're very right. But I think it's how it went down. Like, you don't, like, if you're like in business, right? If I'm trying to sell you my car, right? I don't say like, I'll take any price for this car, right? He basically said like, nobody's untouchable. Nobody. Like,
Who said
we're
that?
open for business. He said,
Oh,
that.
yeah,
He said,
yeah.
nobody. We're open
Yeah,
for
yeah.
business. You don't tell people that you want to trade. Like, your star players are right. Like, you make a phone call and say like, so Pop, you know, how can I? If you would have said, how can I get Kawhi?
Hold on, but you can't have it both ways. You can't say
No, you-
he
I
should
know.
have told. You're saying publicly.
Publicly, you don't go publicly and just tell the whole league that we're
job's
open
on
for
the
business.
line.
We're open for
sure.
business, right?
Okay.
Firing the coach of the year, and not that I'm against that move.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's a risky move.
You just don't like
When
that. You didn't like
when
that he
don't-
hired the assistant.
when
I
you-
don't
when
like
you-
that move.
I think
That's a move I don't like.
I think
And I
when
flagged him
you
aside
fire
from the
when
jump.
you fire a coach at 150,
And look, you have
when you
Kawhi.
fire a coach at 159 games and coach of the year, that backup you that should have been
For sure.
set in stone. Like, he
Should
should
have
have
been a
had.
name coach.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion.
But I don't even, and it's weird too because obviously it
Because
came
they'll-
out.
I-
I'm too
I wish-
comfy.
I-
I'm
I
not even
wish I
talking
don't
into the
even
mic.
know.
I'm so comfy. I'm like leaning back, like.
Right. So like I said,
Yeah.
this is just. I think there was a lot of inspiration. I think somebody was in his ear, or maybe he felt pressure on himself to be like, I have to do something. I have to. So he just opened the table for whatever could come in.
The other thing
But
we have to remember-
he wasn't dealing. I don't think he was dealing from a position of power all summer.
Wow.
Yep, but again too, it's just like, but I think the
Whether you-
expectations of what the fans want and what the brass want. You're right. He wasn't dealing in a position of power, regardless of what it is. But am I mad about the result of what the uncomfortableness
Yeah.
transpired?
No,
Well, here's the thing,
Maybe
though.
you like the moves, but I'm saying he wasn't.
Lowry-
he wasn't dealing from
Lowry
a
has to
position of-
go.
He wasn't dealing right. But if you're going to trade Lowry, you make him seem like he is the heart of your team. You make him seem like he's worth that 31 million. You can't
sure.
say like,
Yeah.
I gave these guys a chance. They're not going to do it. How are you going to trade Lowry and get return?
But what do you make of the fact though that, you know, and I think it was a good point for Masai to bring up because you only are able to get a guy like Kawhi Leonard because of the situation. Right? Like, so you're taking that chance now, and at the end of the day, if we remember, and Masai did say this already, it's been 5 years and he hasn't really put his stamp yet on the team. This, for the most part, right? The core of the team, it's a coach he inherited, it's 2 star players he inherited. He almost traded away Kyle Lowry, and that never
Can I
happened.
say 3 names to you? Anunoby, Siakam, Ibaka. He put his
No,
stamp
but
on
you
the
know what
team.
I'm talking about the
He put
actual
his name- he
core.
Hold on. I understand.
I'm saying how
I
you-
understand what you're. I understand.
Right, like
It was
he
a
hasn't
joke,
put
but
like
it
his
was
major,
110%.
you know what I mean, like his major imprint. And what he has done, which I think he needs to get a lot of credit for, is the infrastructure. Like
Culture.
Bruno aside, obviously, I'm saying like the baseline of good drafts outside of Bruno, right? But let's be serious, we're not mad with OG's pick. We're not mad with Pirtle's pick. We're not mad at DeLon Wright. We're not mad at any of those guys, right? We're not mad at any of those guys. They're not great players, but they're at least solid NBA rotation players. And again, another reminder to Raptors fans, y'all were the ones that told me last year the strength of this team was their bench. So now that they boogie off DeMar DeRozan to get better starters, why are we all mad? But anyways, that's not at you. That's just the general Raptors fan base. But my point, though, to this whole thing, and I think the question lies is, at this point right now, how happy are you with the Raptors offseason? They got a new coach. They upgraded and got Kawhi Leonard. I don't think they're done.
What
but at
grade
this
do you
point
give
right
them?
now, yeah, what grade do you give the Raptors offseason
Q,
right
what
now?
do you give them? What grade do you give them?
Incomplete.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Wow. You trying to send Masai to summer school right now? What is happening right now?
I believe.
Damn,
I believe. Yo,
It's like,
you heard what you wanted to hear from the press conference. I heard I'm trying to build a championship. So keep building. My thing is keep building.
you know what? And
This
I'm
guy
glad,
really gave
because
Masai
he's
failing
building,
grade.
because
I
this
like
is
it
what
though.
this is what the real Raptor loyalists believe. This is what it is.
Yeah,
And this
I
is
like
true.
that. I like the real talk. No, Q. You got to understand. I appreciate
rate
the
it.
real talk.
Yo,
and hey, I'm not saying
He
that
sounds
I'm
like
right.
a man at work, dude. Like my Filipino homie. Listen,
Yeah.
he thinks DeRozan is the best thing since sliced bread, and I can't tell him no wrong. And
Because he is to the Raptors. He is to the Raptors. He is to the Raptors.
But he is to the Raptors.
But again, I don't like being jumped in with the average Toronto Raptor fan.
Nobody's saying that. No, nobody's saying that.
But
Nobody's saying
the season, but I'm here speaking as the
unofficial,
the other side, right?
You were representing that delegation.
So let me reiterate that on a straight up trade, a Kawhi for DeMar DeRozan trade, and what they gave. Like I said, I was impressed.
Yes, everybody
I was
knows.
kind of impressed with how little they gave up.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we all were.
100%, yeah.
So
Which is another tick for Masai. Hold on. That doesn't
that
give him
the-
more than an incomplete.
Thank you.
No,
We try to bump up our guy's grade a little
He
bit.
can't even get a C plus.
But I can't get the man a passing grade halfway through the course. There's still work. There's still
Fair
work.
enough.
to do.
See, that's
Okay,
fair enough.
fair enough. I'll
I
agree.
There's
I
still,
appreciate
still
that.
a lot of
I
work.
appreciate that.
Now, if he somehow boogies, like I said, I like to go through.
There's room for improvement.
I like to go. I'm a serious armchair GM. So
For
I have
sure.
I have trade ideas.
course, left, right,
If
center.
Masai want to give me a call and you want some ideas, put me on. I'll be a consultant.
For
Yo,
sure.
do you know what I respect though? I respect your passion, because this is where basketball is at in this country, in this city. I love it. We love ball. We love basketball. We're passionate about it. I love that. I appreciate that. And the fact that, again, it's almost Carabana and we're still talking about the NBA. Like that's crazy,
And
right?
not just LeBron. We're LeBron's party.
Exactly. Oh my god. And that's another thing too. Yo, real talk. Where's Kawhi's party? I'm not saying that he has to have a party.
Yo,
and he's
promoters.
getting paid. I'm just saying, like, yo, we
should-
need to be showing Kawhi the city.
Kawhi Leonard
this
should
week.
have his own party every night for Carabana weekend. So we're just putting the promoters on blast right now. If you're smart, you know what I mean? Get your bucks up. You know what I'm saying? You
promote
get
your
Kawhi
own,
Leonard,
what-
bro.
what-
Listen,
You
listen, we might have to do
you can
that.
have Kawhi and John Tavares hosts.
We might have to. You feel me?
What are you trying
Listen,
to
we
think
get-
John Tavares knows
listen,
anything
we
about
get free-
Carabana? What are we
No.
talking about right now?
Introduce
right
him.
now.
Introduce him. Introduce him.
Yo,
You know what? I give the
Once he
Raptors.
gets that first bubble on the streets, bro, he's not going to the college anymore.
Right?
yo, the man's married, man.
No,
You
man.
try to break up the happy home for him, man. Let the man live,
No, it's a
yo.
dance, man.
I give the Raptors a B minus.
I need a one dance. A B minus.
B
Okay.
minus, because you know what I mean. It would have been an A,
Uh-huh.
but I feel like there's still some loose ends we got to tie up. And
Okay.
and that loose end is Kyle Lowry. He can't.
Yeah.
We can't. I think personally, especially after watching the ESPN
Yeah, DeRozan had
interview
a
today
comment. Yeah.
with DeRozan, like we can't go into this upcoming season with Kyle with the old regime.
I don't think you
Even
can take the
before-
chance of Kyle sulking.
Even
Yep.
before the trade,
We can't take.
I think he would have been a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't see Nick Nurse all of a sudden just getting through to him and
Yeah.
getting
Thank you.
him to the next level.
Because
Without
the
some
reality
pushback.
of what went down, again, for people that might not remember, is that last year the culture reset was the fact that they allowed Nick Nurse to expand his offense, right? And we saw it. The best examples of it was the bench, but also we saw DeMar DeRozan improve and have his highest assist totals he's ever had in his career, right? So the ball movement was a lot crisper, the ball movement was better, but maybe the pieces didn't fit as well as they needed to be, right? And so now we're a year later, and again, you're adding more three-point shooting to the team,
Fleet resigns.
right? You sign Van Fleet, they sign Lorenzo Brown, and you're thinking, okay, so they have 3 point guards on, they have 4 point guards as we speak right now. So, I mean, one would assume that they're trying to
writing's on
ship
the wall.
Lowry out. Plus, we got to remember at Masai's press conference, he was asked, have you talked to Kyle Lowry yet? Now, obviously, time has passed, and that could have changed because now we're doing this, a week later? A week since? But at the time of the press conference, Masai said he hadn't talked to Kyle, which to me seems kind of weird. No? Like, if you have 2 star players and you trade one of those star players, something's going to tell me that you would have hailed the other guy to be like, "Hey, man, just to let you know,
To me-
even if it's
to
after,
me-
but I'm saying
to
even
me,
if it's
you make
after
that
the
phone
fact,
call after you get off the phone with DeRozan, no?
for sure, definitely."
But that just shows me where
his head's at,
where the GM's mindset is at in regards to dealing with both of these gentlemen.
Right, and I hear
like
I hear you. So I think Kyle is gone. But again, when you don't have that many assets and that many avenues to improve your team, it's not just sending Kyle to Sacramento for a 2 second-round pick.
I agree with that.
cap
You're right.
space.
You're right. You need to
It's
make
gonna
a
get something.
I know what you're saying. You need to make an actual basketball move.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It has to be an actual basketball move. It can't just be about dumping salary. I understand that, and that's a problem because they're in an issue right now where are you going to pay the tax this year? Right? Are you going to be in the luxury taxes? No, but I'm saying they are right now. But I'm saying should they be in the tax right now for a team that you're like you're not hands down the best team in the East. You're one of the best teams in the East, right? But do you want to go into paying the luxury tax this year for this team? I don't know. Yeah. And there's dudes. I think JV. The longer you keep JV, you need to make a decision on is he actually a part of your team, meaning giving him the damn ball, or are you shipping him because he's an asset, but he's an asset that makes a lot of money that you could probably clear.
And he has. I mean, I don't see him.
I think he has value.
I don't see him not. I don't see him not taking. Because he's an option year after this year.
Of course, he's going to take his option. Yeah,
I think he's taking his option. So you got 2 years left for make a decision.
And do you have to keep Norm now? Now that his mom's might be a lead recruiter for you.
No, we can't trade Norman.
There you go.
No way.
We gotta keep Norm.
Norman gotta stay. He better earn his keep. He better earn his keep as he is right now on both sides.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you just Van Fleet's not coming in as a undrafted free agent anymore. Now he's got his bag. So. And I think he's earned some more time.
Definitely.
For sure.
Oh, Freddie definitely earned time. You have to remember, too, the other part that I didn't mention on last week's podcast and I haven't mentioned this week, which I'm mad at myself for forgetting, but the other side to this whole, what people will say is my DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry hate, is the fact that I think we forget in the playoffs when they lost those 2 games in Washington, Stephen A. Smith reported, remember, the Raptors were up 2-0, they went to Washington, they lost 2 straight games, right? On that, the following whatever show that Stephen A. Smith had, he reported that he was in the locker room after that game, and he's talking to Lowry and DeRozan after the game, and they weren't worried at all. They just looked at him and they were like, they pointed at Fred VanVleet to say that, oh, we lost because we don't have Fred. We need Fred VanVleet. That to me, when I saw that was like, I don't even care what happens for the rest of this season. We got to change this up because y'all can't be riding and living and dying with Fred VanVleet. And if you are, it's time for you to go. That was me. That was just me.
I will fully agree that wherever DeMar DeRozan plays, whether Popney, you need to get him a media coach because he's gonna. There's things. Obviously, there's things he can't say. Whether they're taken out of context, there's things you shouldn't say. Whatever he means about it, however it plays out, you just don't voice those.
You got to delete the emojis. Maybe get someone to like spell check your Instagram posts, your Instagram live posts, and all that stuff. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. But it's very millennial, and maybe I'm old, which I'm okay with. Yeah. I'm okay with that. But fellas, you know what else I was okay with? I was okay with this podcast. Normally, we'll take time and talk about something else. We'll talk about music or something else, but maybe I'll say that for next week. We'll do this again next week, and we'll talk like just summer music, song of the summer, all that fun stuff.
We'll talk about Carabao.
True, we could talk about that too, and we'll do just a normal On Blast podcast because there might not be basketball to talk about. But then again, the way that things are going, who knows? We'll see. But fellas, let them know, where can the people find you if they need to find you on social media?
Simply _Q on Instagram and Twitter. That is my personal one, and of course, always at ddscaps.com.
Show the people the hats. You guys ever have stuff that you want to like show and like be like, hey, if people want the videos and stuff, or people that watch the videos on YouTube, they want to see like.
Yeah, you can check out all the hats again.
Website
ddscaps.com. At ddscaps on all social media platforms. Check it out.
Oh.
At Eastside O personal and at DDS Caps. Hit up at DDS Caps and just go on our website. People with a nice hat. We're going to come with some shirts. We're going to come with some shorts. We're coming with a bunch of stuff in the next couple of days, maybe a week or two. So look out for that.
Yes, and lots on the go from me as well. On Twitter, you can find me at Shell Alexander. On Instagram, you can find me at Sheldon Alexander. Lots on the go. We got the Ball on Blast podcast going again. We also got the You Killed It podcast as a new season of MTV's The Challenge is up and running, and that's been a lot of fun. I do it my guy John Chidley Hill, so look out for that as well. All of this available on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and on YouTube. Check out the YouTube content as we try to put out the videos. Shout out to all the people on YouTube as well for watching the videos and getting down with that. And hopefully you enjoyed this edition of the Ball on Blast podcast. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
This is Ball on Blast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network, available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. If you like it, then subscribe and tell your friends. Holla.